Hello there, right here we got a brand new snapshot guys for the Java edition. This is going to be for 1.19, the wild update. This is number 22W12A. And in it we get some brand new enchantments for your pants, plus new waterlog blocks, as well as a cool chest boat and other 1.19 things. And at the end of the video we'll be looking at some cryptic messages that indicate the Warden might actually be a axolotl. In this update, we got the new boats with chest for the Java edition. There is 7 different types, and we also got the mangrove one. Unlike the Bedrock edition, since we got the mangrove blocks in this version, you craft them using a boat and 1 chest. And if you go ahead and place them onto the water, we can go and press E and look into the inventory. Not only does it show our inventory, but it also shows the chest that is on board of the boat. We can't right click the boat to access it, and if we want to access it from the outside, we have to make sure to hold shift and then click, sort of like a horse's inventory. Now if you do break the boat with stuff inside of it, it looks like we actually get the boat back as a full item, and we also get the items. This is different than when we break these boats in Bedrock edition. It would drop these as 2 pieces similar to a minecart chest. Now I really actually like this, that way we can automate the process of dispensing these boats using dispensers and breaking them down with like a cactus and picking up with hoppers and reuse them. And this was also a request of mine after seeing how they handled them with the Bedrock edition. But let's see if minecart chests do the same thing. We'll break this guy and it still breaks in 2 pieces. Kind of wish they would make it so they would break in a solid piece as well, so we can easily reuse them in automation. The only reason you might want to have them break into 2 pieces if you want to like use a cart for something else. Maybe find like a chest minecart in a mineshaft and then want to repurpose it. I'm sure they can think of a way where you can get it as a full item one way, and then if you do a different way of destroying it, you can get the 2 different broken pieces, or maybe you can break it down in a crafting grid. What do you guys think about that? Now you can also place these on land. They do only hold 1 entity because the other slot is being taken up by a chest. But like this chicken goes inside, I can't access it now. And in Java edition, you can't like use a lead on a boat, and if you use a lead on any entity side, I'll just immediately dismount whatever it's a passenger of. The boat trains aren't a thing in Java edition. Now one thing we have in Java edition we don't have in Bedrock edition is the ability to turn on hitboxes, so we can actually see how big these guys are. Now notice that the chest is kind of considered like a passenger, even though it kind of sticks up and over. The boat itself stays the same size. And this is similar to like the minecart chest. Now both of these guys, when you open up the container, they don't actually open up the visual chest like you would see if you opened up a actual chest. And the boat chests work just like chest carts, where you're able to place things into it with hoppers that are pointing into it, and also if you have power droppers, and it could all be collected using hoppers underneath. Opening up the boat with chests or breaking it will also make piglins mad, just like other chests. Now I actually did a bunch of testing with these boats in the Bedrock edition, which I'll put into a separate video, so look forward to that. But if you do have any questions about them, ask in the comments and hopefully I will answer them then. We also got the Swift Sneak enchantments back as they weren't in the last snapshot. They come in at 3 different enchantment levels, and they changed it so they are no longer placed on boots but are now placed onto leggings. This is amazing, as helmets as well as boots have a lot of enchantments that can only go on them, where the chestplate and leggings don't. So now you don't have to worry about incompatibilities with stuff like Depth Strider, Frostwalker, Soul Speed, and instead you can have the Swiftness and those enchantments all on your armor set. Now these leggings, when placed on, let the player sneak at the same speed as walking rather than at a slower pace. This is great for sneaking around the Warden, but it's also good for building and bridging very fastly. This also makes it the very first unique pants-only enchantment, as the other enchantments that can be placed on it can also be placed on other things. Now in the previous snapshot we got a lot of the Sculk blocks, but we were missing some of the functionality of the Sculk Shrieker. This is the block that can detect vibrations from the Sculk sensor and will summon in the Warden. So my vibrations go to the Sculk sensor, and then from the Sculk sensor they go to the Shrieker. After 3 vibrations have been sent to the Shrieker, then the Warden will be able to get summoned from the Shrieker, and it will take a little while, but he'll get summoned in, and then he'll go after whoever's making those vibrations for zombies. GG. Now even without the sensor, the Shrieker still can go off, as the Shrieker could even detect when the player walks on top of it without a sensor nearby. They also added in the darkness effect, which is produced by the Shrieker as well as the Warden, and will affect you if you're nearby. This is what lowers your gamma down and also will make pulses, which can make it difficult to see. You can change how much the darkness affects you with this controls inside your accessibility settings. Now torches can help brighten up during this time, and and they can also prevent the Warden from being summoned in, as it needs a light level of 11 or lower. Now the Warden is something that wasn't also in the previous snapshot, and they put it back in again from the experimental ones. It works the same way as I kind of mentioned in this video here, which I'll put down in the description, and I go into much detail about all your guys' questions. Now one thing they did change with the Warden is that he is able to hit players a little bit higher up than he was before. They also changed the Warden's animation a little bit. Now in the past, they used to be able to shift through the render distance using F3 keys. They went ahead and decided to remove that. I think people were just accidentally pushing that, and it really didn't help you as much as just going into the menu to change a setting. Now a really big change that came to Java is the ability to waterlog leaves. This acts very similar to the mangrove roots, where the water is completely contained inside. But one big difference is that when you try to push leaves, they just break off and you lose the water with it as well. This also means when explosions happen, they won't destroy the waterlog stuff. This can actually be pretty useful inside of tree farms, where you might want to have water in some locations, while still making the game think that there is leaves occupying those locations, so more leaves aren't placed there. So now if you grow a tree underneath water, the leaves will automatically be waterlogged. Now with all the cool things that came in the last snapshot, we also got some bugs that snuck in as well. So let's check out all the fixes that they did this week. They fixed a bug to do with when you update a whole bunch of things all at once, how does the game actually decide which one of these actually gets updated? Now with this bug, it actually changed the order in which it happened. Instead of happening from the end to the start, and now it does it from the start going outwards. In the last snapshot, it was accidentally reversed. So when we update this rail system, it's going to update the two observers, which is going to try to cause both pistons to push, but only one is actually going to push, the one that gets updated first. But if we compare this to the previous versions, same type of setup, and we power this, notice that this piston actually gets updated first and pushes everything this direction. And it doesn't matter how many times we do this, they will always update this way. So with this fix, they now reverted it back to the way it was before, even though it does seem less intuitive that the updates would occur at the very end and then work their way back to the switch which you flipped. You'd think it would start here and go that way. This is just the way it's always been, and people got used to this. In the last snapshot, we also seen a problem in here, the end dimension, which was the dragon didn't spawn at all. So there's actually no way to kill the dragon or get the exit end portal to leave this place, which is fixed in this new snapshot. Since 1.17, sometimes end cities would end up being placed over craters in the end islands, making them seeming like they would float. And most of these next bugs I pointed out during my testing streams, but I often forget to make the reports. So thank you guys for reporting these bugs, and it's exciting to see them getting fixed. If you've seen my last video, I talked about how the natural mangrove leaves could have propagules naturally grow off of them. Problem was, when the leaves would decay, the propagules would be left floating in the air, which is now resolved. I showed that propagules could be used as a flower source for bees. The problem is, these things can also be waterlogged, and the bees would try to go into the water to get to them, and could end up dying. So now bees are made smarter. They also resolved it so when placing water into the same area where a propagule was placed, it wouldn't pop off as an item. They also resolved this problem where leaves weren't able to be broken using a hoe, as well as this one where you can't compost the leaves. They also resolved the problem where the mangrove stuff cannot be placed into furnaces to cook stuff. The brick slabs were making a placing sound just like stone, rather than the noise of bricks. There's also this weird bug that I found where mud bricks had this weird problem where they wouldn't break as fast as the other types of mud blocks. With the new items added in with 1.19, where they were placed inside the creative menu wasn't quite right, like the new gates were in the building blocks, as well as the fences being hidden there. When crafting recipes, all the wood types are typically under one fence type, from which you can then right click to choose which type of fence you want to get, but the mangrove was being placed separately. For those of you guys that get excited about new blocks in the game because you want to check out the colors of those blocks on maps, they fixed a few issues. First being mangroves were showing up as the wrong color. Notice how we got red, orange, red, and here it just shows red and then a bunch of orange. This problem continued when it came to the logs as well as slabs. And when the trapdoors were added, they were also showing up as gray. The mud was just as fascinating, where it should be tannish, it was all showing up as a bluish gray. If you summon in a Strider with no AI, it would still get cold, turning this purplish, but that wasn't supposed to happen, so it's now been fixed. Boxes were oddly moving themselves towards the center of the world every time it was thundering. This was due to a problem in the code where they tried to avoid sunlight and they just happened to be moving towards the 00 chords. Pressing the escape key is supposed to drop you down one menu level, but in some cases it wasn't. Now something that I've complained about a lot is the control plus backspace not being in some parts of the game. Now what this does is instead of just backspacing one character, it will actually delete the last entire word all at once. It's very useful when typing, especially if you're trying to be efficient. Now recently I complained about control backspace not being in the Bedrock edition, but after complaining it was added in. But they also went ahead and fixed some other control backspace scenarios like with signs here, which should make it a little bit nicer. They also fixed this for books, so you could do that. They also added in control home, which will not just put you to the beginning of the sentence or the end of the sentence, will actually move you to the very beginning of the whole section. So control home would take you all the way up to the top left, and control end would take you all the way to the bottom right. And they also added in control arrow keys. These are nice for jumping a single word without actually deleting it, so you can move easily throughout your text. I use these a lot, especially when typing out commands. You also can use control shift arrow, which also highlights and selects different text, so you can copy just special parts. You also resolve the problem with a memory leak occurring with the tag key creation. When using the locate biome command to find different cave biomes, it wasn't always finding the nearest one, which is now resolved. There was this very subtle bug where you notice this top half of the door is lighter and the bottom half is darker. This is how the smooth lighting is applied to these blocks. Notice how this trap door is light on top, dark on bottom, but these two doors are missing this. They don't have no shading. The lighting is the same at top as well as bottom. And then over here you can see, once again, it's lighter than darker. This also applied to the end portal frames. The end stone goes light to dark, where these were bright across the entire thing. Even happening on similar blocks, these are both gates. But notice the right gate looks shaded better, where this one just looks blandly bright. This also was occurring with Soul Sand and is all now fixed. A minor problem with the new frogs. That laid the frogs spawn. When it would hatch, it would say in the subtitles here that frogs were hatching rather than that tadpoles are hatching, which has been corrected. Now Sedges brought to my attention something that happened almost exactly 1 year ago from today, and that is release notes that were put out on the Minecraft launcher. With them, they also came in an encrypted message at the very bottom. When translated, this message said, "The axolotls are not what they seem." This could tie into a message that King B-Dogs, a developer on Minecraft, stated in one of his tweets, saying that the souls of the Warden's chest were incredibly important for its lore. He also said that the Warden was inspired by the monster that he heard at the end of the music disc known as 11. Now we know that the original Warden had more loopy ears, which we actually see in the big huge portal that is in the center of the ancient city. But now the Warden has kind of filler-like antennas. These actually look very similar to the axolotl's gills in real life. And looking at the Warden from the eyes of an Enderman, you can kind of see the resemblance to axolotls. Maybe there's something going on between the Warden and the axolotl. What do you guys think? Now check out this playlist about other 1.19 news, or this playlist about cool tricks which you can do with the new items. Keep in mind I will be streaming more 1.19 this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I hope you guys enjoy these videos. If so, leave a like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!